Every man knows that feeling the electricity in the air when she looks at you a certain way. The warmth of her body close to yours, the dopamine rush of being wanted. In that moment, it feels like something divine. You think it's love. You think it's fate? But most men don't realize what's really happening, that this isn't love, it's leverage. It's a carefully evolved mechanism designed not to connect but to extract. Her body, her attention, her smile, they're not just expressions, they're tools. Tools shaped by biology and sharpened by culture. Society taught her early on that her value lies in her appearance, her sexuality. And then we're taught the opposite, that their value lies in chasing, in earning, in proving. So the game begins. You run toward what she reveals, thinking she's giving you something rare, sacred. But she's not. She's doing what she's been trained to do, use her physical presence to control the emotional landscape. And you, if you're not grounded, fall headfirst into it, smiling, grateful, willing. You call it connection, but it's submission. You call it love, but it's obsession. The danger isn't the sex. It's what sex represents when you give up your center to get it. When you change your schedule, abandon your goals, and compromise your values for the promise of her body, you've already lost. You've made her the mission, and now she has the power. This is what most men never see, that the more you invest in winning her, the more you risk losing yourself. And when she senses that shift, that you're no longer leading but following, her respect starts dying, slowly, quietly, and by the time you realize it, you're hooked. That's the first trap. That's where most men fall. You think she's yours because she sleeps with you. You think that moment of intimacy means loyalty. Connection, something real. But what you don't see is what's happening underneath, the silent shift in power. Before sex, she's attentive, warm, maybe even submissive. She leans in, she mirrors your energy. She makes you feel like the man. But after she senses your emotional investment, the tests begin. The energy changes, the sweetness fades. Now, it's not about seduction, it's about control. She starts pulling back, not always physically, but emotionally. She delays responses, she becomes slightly colder. And you, because you felt that high, start chasing the feeling again. You don't even realize you've switched roles. You're no longer pursuing her. You're pursuing that version of her she used to hook you. That's the genius of the trap. She doesn't have to keep giving you pleasure. She just has to give you glimpses of it. That's all it takes. To keep you emotionally invested. Now you're stuck in the loop. A compliment here, a cold shoulder there. Her mood becomes your compass. Her validation becomes your fuel. And that's when you're no longer a man. You're a respondent. Reacting, chasing, guessing. It's not that she consciously plans this, it's instinct. She wants to see how much power she holds. She wants to know if she can lead from behind, if she can shape your behavior with subtle cues. And if you fall for it, if you dance to her rhythm, she may still stay with you, but the respect is already gone. That moment when you stop being the centered force and start being the emotional chaser, that's when she starts checking out mentally. She stays until she finds better. And you'll keep chasing until you have nothing left. It's not malice. It's nature. Women are wired to test, to push, to evaluate silently and relentlessly. Not because they're cruel, but because their biology demands it. They're looking for strength, not just physical, but emotional, mental, spiritual. And every moment you interact with her, whether you realize it or not, she's scanning you, watching how you respond. Do you stay centered when she pulls back, or do you panic? Do you need reassurance, or do you remain rooted? The moment she senses weakness, especially emotional weakness, her attraction starts to fade. It doesn't matter how good you are to her, how much you say you love her, how kind or loyal or giving you are. If you can't hold your frame, she loses the desire to follow your lead. That's what most men get wrong. They confuse being open with being attractive. They mistake emotional vulnerability for emotional strength. They spill their feelings, hoping it will deepen the bond. But she doesn't want your breakdowns. She wants your backbone. She doesn't want you to collapse in front of her. She wants to feel your stability when the world is shaking. And if you don't give her that, she starts to pull away. Slowly, she may not say it, but she feels it, the shift. You're no longer the man she could surrender to. You've become the man she has to carry emotionally, and that's the beginning of the end. Women crave emotional security, not emotional chaos. And if you don't anchor yourself first, she never feels safe enough to stay feminine in your presence. The truth is simple. If she has to lead, she will, but she resents it. Respect. DIES when you stop being the grounded force. And once it's gone, there's no desire strong enough to bring it back. Validation is the most expensive currency a man can give away for free. Every compliment, every double text, every good morning message sent with hope instead of certainty chips away at your masculine edge. And what do most men get in return? A brief reply. A few minutes of her attention. A temporary sense of worth. But in the process, you're teaching her something crucial, that your attention costs nothing, that your energy is always available, that you'll show up whether she earns it or not. And once she learns that, once she sees that you're willing to give without standards, she stops valuing it. You become predictable, safe, boring, the edge disappears. What you thought was effort becomes weakness in her eyes. That's the brutal paradox. The more you try to win her, the less she wants to be won. The more you validate her without making her earn it, the more invisible you become. Not because she's evil, but because she's wired to crave challenge. Tension, a man whose time and attention feel rare. When you give it too freely, she no longer has anything to pursue. And without pursuit, there's no attraction. Detachment is not about playing games. It's about having standards. You don't ignore her because you're bitter. You don't pull back because you're afraid. You do it because your time has value. Because your presence is earned, not handed out. That's when the power flips. Not when you manipulate, but when you remember your worth. When you stop rewarding breadcrumbs with full meals. When you recognize that being a man isn't about how much attention you give, it's about how grounded you remain. When attention is dangled in front of you like bait. That's what she truly respects. That's what makes you different. The hardest truth for most men to accept is that the moment you start needing her, you've already lost her. Women don't fall for the man who chases relentlessly. They fall for the man who moves with conviction, who chooses his path with or without her. That's the man who commands respect because he doesn't place her above his mission. He doesn't beg for her time, her love, or her validation. He embodies purpose, and she either aligns with it or watches from the sidelines. The trap only works when you make her your goal. When you place her on a pedestal, she stops looking up to you. Now she's looking down, and that shift is fatal. It turns the dynamic upside down, from polarity to pity, from admiration to annoyance. Masculinity dies the moment a man starts orbiting a woman emotionally. That's why you must reclaim your center. Your job is not to solve her emotional riddles, to decode mixed signals, or to endlessly prove yourself. Your job is to build, to sharpen, to rise, and in doing so, you become the one who leads the dance, not with force, but with presence. A woman cannot trap a man who doesn't need her to feel whole. That's the secret. When she sees that, you are already full, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Her games stop working. Her seduction loses its grip. Now she has to show up with more than just her body. She has to bring depth, honesty, and respect. And if she doesn't, she knows she'll lose you. Not because you walk away in anger, but because your life is too rich to settle for less. That's the man she can't manipulate. That's the man she quietly fears losing. And that's the man you were always meant to become.